Alright guys, so yeah, as promised, we're going to have a little look at the traffic light system and the 90% targets, and just going to react as we go along on this one. So let's watch our illustrious Zekhale comrade Jacinda, Auntie Cindy, and let's see what she's telling everybody you're allowed to do. So basically, let's see if we're grounded and how much longer we're grounded for. This is Mum speaking. Listen up.
Today, I'm speaking directly to all New Zealanders.
I should fucking well hope so. We're the only cunts bothered in listening to you.
To share a plan that will help us stay safe from COVID-19 into the future. A future where we want to continue to protect people's lives, but also to live our lives as safely as possible.
So, we're not living our lives safely beforehand? Safely as possible by whose standards?
Our announcements today are in 3 parts. I'll start by setting out the new framework we will use to help us minimise the impact of COVID-19 and protect ourselves. The second part is the economic support package we will use to especially support Auckland businesses as we transition. Minister Robertson will speak to that. Minister Cepoloni has also today set out an extension to our hardship assistance package for families on low incomes. And finally, given the importance of high vaccine rates across all communities, Minister Henare will set out a plan to accelerate Māori vaccination rates. In March last year, when I announced our alert level system, I said that the world had changed, and quickly. But we carved our own path then, and now we can do that again. Our focus on elimination kept us free from COVID for much of the past 18 months, at a time when our population was vulnerable to this virus.
Really? So it was vulnerable to the virus. So we're not now.
It kept our case numbers low and our hospitals from being swamped. Our economy held up well and unemployment stayed low. We can rightfully be proud of what our world-leading response has achieved. But 2 things have changed since then. The first is that Delta has made it very hard to maintain our elimination strategy.
Especially if you want to eliminate someone.
Its tentacles have reached into our communities and made it hard to shake.
No, your tentacles have.
Even using the best public health measures and the toughest restrictions we had available to us.
And who said they were available? You know? She's made all this up. There was no votes in Parliament about all of this shit. They just did it. State of emergency, martial law. We can do what we fucking well want.
But right as our long-standing strategy was challenged, we also had a new tool. One that means as COVID has changed, we could change too. And rather than being locked down, we could move forward safely and with confidence. That tool is the vaccine.
Really? Because all hail the vaccine. All hail. Where would we be without it? Just think about that.
The vaccine we are using in New Zealand is safe and effective.
Lies. Every medical treatment comes with risks. Doesn't matter how small the procedure, every procedure comes with risks. And even vaccinations. There is a long history of vaccine injuries. Billions of dollars. Over in the States, you look at the vaccine injuries. Shocking stuff, mate. But don't worry, because you can go through ACC claim if you've had a vaccine injury. And if you've detected that you've had a vaccine injury, immediately go and get it documented from a doctor. It's not his job to say, no, you haven't, yes, you have. It's his job to document it.
If you are vaccinated, it means that you are less likely to catch the virus and much less likely to end up in hospital if you do.
Really? And yet, if you go and look over at some of the states' reports, the large majority of hospitalisations are people that have had their vaccinations. But again, that's not going to get all those people out there getting it in their arm, is it? No.
It also helps protect everyone. The more people who are vaccinated, the harder it is for COVID to spread through communities quickly and find our most vulnerable.
Bullshit. We're getting a larger number of people vaccinated and we're getting a larger number of cases. Bullshit. This is ridiculous. It's if you have had the vaccination, you can still catch it. If you've had the vaccinations, you can still transmit it. And people that have COVID may be asymptomatic and show absolutely no symptoms. And it's only hospitalisations, usually with underlying health conditions.
That means while we used to say that we needed to stay home to save lives, we now need to be vaccinated to save lives.
Really? Well, I'm still staying home regardless. So all of those lives I've saved, you're fucking welcome. But now you have to inject some chemical into your fucking arm to save lives. Are you shitting me? Play us another guilt trip, Jacinda.
And this is where New Zealand has the chance to continue to carve our own path.
I know I'd love to carve something.
Very few countries have had the opportunity to vaccinate people before COVID was in every corner of their communities. We can.
Can we? I wish she'd just speak for her fucking self.
Once we have done that, we then need to make sure we keep using that tool to protect ourselves as we gradually and carefully open up. Not all countries have had that chance, and some have opened up with vaccines very quickly or without any other public health measures in place. Our plan will do things differently. That's because our goal, based on the advice of Professor David Skegg and the Public Health Advisory Group, is to minimise and protect. Minimisation means that we are aiming to keep the spread of COVID-19 as low as possible. That while there will be some level of cases in the community on an ongoing basis, we'll work to contain and control any outbreaks, and if practical to do so, stamp them out.
And don't forget, the virus resides inside people. When she's talking about controlling the virus, she's controlling the people. Got it?
Protection means that we won't just treat COVID like a seasonal illness.
Even though the WHO and the CDC and other doctors around the world have all come out and said it's looking like it's a seasonal illness.
We will protect people from it with vaccination, management, and a response that focuses on minimising the significant health impacts we know it can have.
Really? 208 deaths so far in New Zealand. Thousands and thousands of injuries in New Zealand. 2 deaths because of Delta. 27 or 30 because of COVID last year. So is that worth it?
But how do we make our strategy to minimise COVID and protect people work, whilst also making sure that we keep moving forward? The first step is with high vaccination rates. You'll know that we're being resistant to setting a target. We didn't want to leave anyone behind, and we still don't.
Fuck, I'd love to leave her behind somewhere.
But we need to give everyone, and especially Aucklanders, certainty over when it will be safe enough to transition to a new system. One where we can give more freedoms to those who are vaccinated.
Really? You just heard it yourself. More freedoms to those who are vaccinated. So does that mean that the unvaccinated are going to become second-class citizens, Jacinda? Are you saying that you're going to be discriminating against somebody because of their medical condition, Jacinda? Is that what you're saying? Because as for your public health, what about the public's mental health and the crap you've put us all through for the last year and a half? And yes, you, because you and your little gang of buddies in that fucking beehive are the ones that just go ahead and make orders now. You know, fuck first, second, third readings and passing things correctly. Oh no, because there's an emergency, we've got to rush it through. What a fucking scam. And unfortunately, all of the slow-boiling frogs out there haven't learnt. You can lead a horse to water, you cannot make them drink. All you end up doing is drowning them.
We've looked at all of the evidence, talked to experts, looked at modelling for our situation.
Goody! She's looked at models.
And set a target of 90% fully vaccinated for each DHB in New Zealand.
So we're putting it on the head of the DHBs to sort it out then. So the stress and strain she's worried about keeping off of the health system, she's now putting it on the health system to get that 90% vaccination rate. So instead of the government texting us and saying, bribing us with free taxi rides and free food and alcohol, and instead of that, now they're going to do it up to the DHB. And I'm hearing multiple reports from different people telling me, hey look, if you go into hospital, they're going to force vaccine on you. Well, I'm looking forward to them trying that with me, because I am waiting for an appointment, because my health's been like shit since May, and I'm sitting here waiting patiently for a letter I got in August saying I will be seen within 4 months. Needless to say, someone with what I believe I've got is actually ulcerative colitis, and it's not pleasant to constantly bleed all of the time. And I've been bleeding for 5 months. Does it look like they give a fuck? Disgusting.
The reason we're on each DHB is because we need every region to be highly vaccinated.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Everybody has to be highly vaccinated. But wait until the numbers come.
And by focusing on DHBs, we also make sure we get more equitable outcomes.
Equitable outcomes. So it's worried about money. Equity. Not equality. Don't get equality mixed up with equity.
And when every DHB reaches this target, that is when we'll move into a new framework called the COVID-19 Protection Framework.
That sounded like an ultimatum, doesn't it? Unless you guys go and get vaccinated, you're going to be stuck in level 3 lockdown. But wait, it gets better.
Let me tell you how this new system will work.
Oh, sing it, sister.
Similar to our current alert level system, there'll be 3 settings: green, orange, and red. They're designed to help us manage outbreaks and cases. While you could have cases in the community at any of the different settings, we can use them to try and get numbers down if they're affecting people's safety and our health system.
Because it's all about health and safety, isn't it? It's not about control and dependency, is it? And let's remember, there's been an extra 60 billion last year loaned on this. She's just given another 120 odd million to the Maoris to get their numbers up. So what does that mean? I mean, if you're doing that and there's only so many, thousands of Maori out there, fuck, you might as well throw them $1,000 each. I'm sure they'd be happy. Still doesn't mean they're going to be fucking sticking something poisonous in their arm. If it is indeed poisonous, because I'm waiting for the clinical trials to end.
There are 3 big differences between this new system and our current one. The first is that it uses vaccine certificates. Basically, if you want to be guaranteed that no matter the setting that we are in, that you can go to bars, restaurants, and close proximity businesses like a hairdresser, you will need to be vaccinated.
Cut my own hair. Don't go to bars, I don't drink. Don't go to sports events because I can't give a fuck about tribal bullshit.
The second difference is that with vaccine certificates at red, orange and green, businesses will be able to continue to open and operate. This, I know, is the certainty that many have been looking for. And the third major difference is that rather than use general nationwide lockdowns, If we have cases that start to climb and in areas where we have lower vaccination rates in vulnerable communities, we can use more highly targeted and very localised lockdowns if we need to.
Translation, we're going to discriminate against individual areas of New Zealand or suburbs. Further translation, we don't have enough New Zealand police officers. That's why we've made it optional for them. That's not mandated for them, because 40% of them didn't want it. And you don't want almost half the police force walking out, do you? Be a bit difficult to enforce things then, wouldn't it? But that's all right. If we make it more localised lockdowns, it's a lot easier for the police force in general to keep it happy, isn't it? You know, door to door. You just have to put your arm out the door soon and get jabbed. Otherwise you won't be allowed out of your house.
Let me give you then a very quick run through.
Oh no, that's right. Had a little hiccup here with the audio.
Our health system. So here, while hospitality is open with vaccine certificates and retail is also open with the usual public health measures, gathering limits and physical distancing will also be required. Education will be open.
Really? Gathering limits will be required. Does that count for vaxathons, Jacinda? When you've got 30 or 40 fucking muppets with no masks, all dancing, giving each other fucking hand jobs, going, thank you very much for your kind donation. We needed your health. Now we've got it.
Look at this shit. We've been in lockdown for like fucking nearly 3 months. That's one of the main cunts telling us to do it. No mask. Fucking no social distancing. All hanging out. I've had 8 hours of watching this fucking stream. None of these dickheads are social distancing. Fuck you. Fuck all of you.
Is that what she's talking about?
But with public health measures in place. Working from home is encouraged. Masks will also be required in the same way we use them now. This will still
To what your ass with?
feel like a huge amount of freedom relative to what Auckland has now. And because they have done so much work to lift their vaccination rates, and because of the border around the city, rather than wait for the rest of New Zealand, Auckland will move into red as soon as all 3 of the Auckland DHBs hit the 90% double vaccination target.
Translation, we're not going to be able to force the rest of the country, because it's so vast and open spread, into getting to 90%. The 1.7 million people in Auckland wouldn't stand for that. So they get the traffic light system as soon as they hit that 90%. Now I wonder if she's going to tell us how many people need it.
To everyone in Auckland, our businesses, people on their own, families with young children, everyone.
Even Kirk and the babysitter.
I know this period has been so hard, but you are so close, right?
Here she is stringing you along that carrot on the end of the stick. You're so close, just a little bit longer. We've been in lockdown for 8 fucking weeks and we're going to be still in lockdown for at least another 6. For people that haven't had the jab yet, it's going to take them at least a month to be fully vaccinated. We're almost at the end of October. See ya, Christmas.
Right now, you're just 16,000 vaccines away from every DHB hitting the 90% target for first doses.
16,000 people in Auckland need to be vaccinated for all 3 DHBs to hit the 90% for first vaccination. Why don't you tell us the number for double vaccinations, Jacinda?
When that turns into double doses, that's when this new framework kicks in for you. And I know that vaccination certificates will help us get those numbers up.
Sorry? Receiving your papers? When you're being asked for your papers, please, you'll be able to get along more freely. Don't worry about the unsullied with those stars on the arms and shit, you know. Don't worry about that.
For the rest of the country, once every DHB hits 90% double vaccinated, we anticipated we will move collectively together to orange. At orange, everyone remains open, but because of vaccine certificates, all of the gathering limits currently in place for events, gatherings or hospitality, they can lift.
You hear that? So as long as you've got a COVID vaccination, if you've got a vaccine certificate, Delta is so damn clever, it's not going to spread there. You know, even though you can still spread and catch it. Wait for your booster shots next year, guys.
Places that choose not to use vaccination certificates will either be closed or will have public health measures in place.
Got that? So if you don't toe the line, you'll be closed. Translation, we'll put you out of business permanently.
Green is when there is some COVID in the community, but at low levels. Fully vaccinated people can enjoy all events and hospitality and gatherings by showing a vaccine certificate. Where premises choose not to use vaccine certificates, they will face restrictions on numbers and spacing similar to the current alert level framework.
And probably later on, penalties for doing so.
Face masks will only be mandatory on flights, but will be encouraged in indoor settings.
Really? Wasn't encouraged on the Vaxathon, Jacinda?
There is quite a bit more detail for each of these settings, but they will feel familiar. We've based them on what we have learned from using our old alert levels. But the reason we have changed from this system is because we needed one that could make use of the new tool of vaccines and vaccine certificates, a way that we could keep vaccinated people safe from those who have not been.
Vaccinated people safe from those who have not been. So we are unsafe if we haven't been vaccinated. Is that what she's saying? I don't know. I had all my other vaccinations as a kid, you know. And, you know, if you want to say, is he for or against vaccination? No, I'm for choice, but I'm blind in one eye because of Mum getting in contact with German measles when I was in her belly at 8 months pregnant. So I've been 3/4 blind in this eye since I was a fucking child. Corrective lenses didn't work, picked up on it too late. It's called salt and pepper eye. That's what they used to call it. You know, perhaps if there had been vaccinations around there for German measles and stuff back then when Mum was around, I'd have 20/20 vision. But I like to have 20/20 hindsight, or even a bit of foresight when it comes to this crowd.
And thinking about these settings and when the country moves into them, we did specifically think about the South Island.
Oh, did
We
you?
also thought about scenarios where we are close to the targets for each DHB, but possibly stuck a small way shy of where we want to be to transition.
What do you call 16,000 people out of 1.7 million? How much less than 90% are the DHBs in Auckland, Jacinda? 5,000 people per DHB odd? So everybody stays locked up for another 6 weeks until that very slight percentage change happens? Do the math. 1.7 million and find out what percentage that equals. Shocker.
That's why on the 29th of November, Cabinet will review the progress that Auckland has made and the rest of the country to see if anything needs to change. We are open to moving the South Island before the rest of the country if all the DHBs in the South hit their targets before others.
Really? Where are you going to move it to?
And for Auckland, who have done all of the heavy lifting in this outbreak.
Fuck the rest of New Zealand. Apparently us Aucklanders are the one doing all the heavy lifting. The rest of you don't care. You know, you're just the scraps on the edges, I'm guessing, as far as she's concerned.
We have a collective goal now. But
No,
in the
we don't.
meantime, we will still keep assessing the settings we have. And if it's safe to do so, use the step downs that we have already talked about. But rather than having to wait week to week, I hope the announcements today give you a better sense of the destination. So you can see here that our plan gets us moving forward, but in a safe way. And we are better placed than so many others have been to do that. But we will have COVID cases in the community, and more than we have experienced before. But because we won't...
More than what we have experienced before. Really? I thought that was the whole point of this. So she's saying there will be cases in the community and there will be more than what we've already experienced. Does that sound right to you?
take this step until we are at 90% vaccination. We will also have high levels of protection that limit COVID's impact. In fact, we'll be one of the few countries that will have such high levels of vaccination while still using public health measures to keep everyone as safe as we can and enjoying the things that so many have missed and loved.
Got that? So even if we reobtain 90% everywhere, there's still going to be those health measures in place. You're never going to go back to the old normal. No. You're going to have to be muzzled. I mean, homeschooling my kids, one of the things they wanted to ensure that my kids still did was have social gatherings and still had social interactions with other people. They haven't given a fuck about that in the last 18 months, have they?
And it's all because of vaccines.
It is.
Vaccinations are our armour. They help keep us safe.
No, that's called our immune system. That's our armour. That's what help keeps us safe. And natural immunity is up to 7 times more strenuous and more strengthening to your immune system. It fights it off about 7 times more from the latest studies I was reading.
So my message to New Zealanders who have not yet had their first dose: if you want summer, if you want to go to bars and restaurants,
What? To those people that haven't been vaccinated, if you want summer. Does Jacinda think she has the power to stop seasonal change now?
vaccinated. If you want to get a haircut, get
No, I'm good.
vaccinated. If you want to go to a concert
No,
or a festival,
no,
get vaccinated.
No.
If you want to go to a gym or a sports event, get vaccinated.
no.
If you are not vaccinated, there will be everyday things you will miss out on.
Oh yeah? Would you like to tell me what they are? What will I miss out on, Jacinda? Perhaps you could please illuminate me. Oh, illustrious fucking Freemason. Why don't you illuminate me, Jacinda? What am I going to miss out on my day-to-day things? Because other than, I mean, it's a little bit more humorous each day watching all these people blindly following you. It's sickening, but still humorous, because if I didn't laugh, I'd be crying. So, what is it exactly?
And if you are vaccinated, you can be assured that in the new framework, you will get to enjoy the things you love, secure in the knowledge that the people around you and the environment you are in is as safe as possible in a COVID world.
Whatever happened to a normal world? Nah, it's all COVID world now. The flu's apparently been miraculously solved. There is no flu anymore. Did you know that?
If you've done the right thing to keep yourself and others safe, to look after one another, you should feel safe. You should be protected from those who haven't made that choice.
Fuck yeah. I've taught my kids law and legislation. They understand double speak. I've done what I can to ensure their safety. From you lot.
That's what the protection framework seeks to offer vaccinated New Zealanders. To sum up, our strategy moving forward is to minimise and protect. Our alert level system has charted us through
Minimise and protect. Minimise what? The population?
a global pandemic in a way that kept us relatively free from the virus. And we now have our playbook written if we ever needed it again.
She could fucking eat her playbook.
But now we have vaccines. We cannot ask vaccinated people to stay home forever. Since
You already have been. People have been getting vaccinated well before the last lockdown. and you've been asking them to stay home for the last 2 months.
Now we need a new playbook to reflect a population protected from COVID, and that's what this is. I know you'll want as much information as possible at a time like this.
Certainly not from you lot.
And so, as always, more detailed guidance on the announcement can be found at covid19.govt.nz.
Yeah, there's probably another few cartoons there for you to watch.
Including the details of the system I've just outlined.
Well,
But
I'm
just
sure.
as we did for the alert level framework, we will continue to work through detailed plans for each sector, and this detail will be progressively added. Till then, to the team again for doing your bit. Thank you in our distinctive and your bit in our distinctive and world-leading fight against COVID-19. I have no doubt that we'll do what it takes once again and move forward safely together.
World leading? I thought we were ranked like 10th or in the low teens. Last time I checked at the ranking. Well, rank, yeah, might be her breath, but
I'll now hand over to Minister Robertson. He will then hand over to Minister Henare, and then we will be happy to each take questions from.
yeah, those questions are only what she decides to agree with, and whenever those questions aren't questions she's really happy with, she talks over the top of them. Or if it's being a question asked by another minister, she'll always butt in if they think they're going askew.
Yeah.
I've about had enough of this. We've got old Grant Robinson saying, oh, you know, we're going to give all these businesses, we're going to now double all the money for the resurgence packages. And, you know, while we're at it, we've already given the Maori sort of groups 250 million. Let's slap another 120 million on that, you know, 60 for them and 60 for these guys. Sad. Okay, that was her Friday update, talking about the percentages and the new traffic light system that they went on about a month ago and said that we'd be hearing about it. All of this is well planned in advance. So, yeah, and they're all in lockstep with everyone else. Klaus Schwab type shit going on, guys. See you later.